What's up, everyone? Welcome back to a shot of Business Central and a beer, episode 40. Does it feel like we've been doing this for 3.5 years? Podcasting?
It kind of does, yeah.
It
Just
does.
based on the number of beers we've drinking and
Yeah,
how
we'll go with the
difficult
beers.
it gets to be creative and find something different each time.
Yeah, flew by so far, though.
Yeah, how you doing today?
Not too bad. I'm doing pretty good. Staying healthy. That's what counts. I haven't caught the new coronavirus BA5 or what the highly contagious one.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I haven't got that yet, so
Stay
not gonna
safe.
wait.
As far as you know.
Yeah, as far as I know.
That's good.
But what about you? How you doing?
Doing well. I'm ready to dive into one of these ice cold beers we have here.
What'd you bring?
Well, today, just before we get into the beer, today we're going to be talking about the 20.3 release that came out, some other shot news, some news out there. And then the main topic of today is that Microsoft has made available the release plans for 2022 Wave 2. So we're going to be pouring through all 33 features that are expected to be coming out in October and later. It's always one of my most enjoyable episodes where we get to look through what's coming out in the fall.
Yeah, it's absolutely fun to see the new features.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to pour through every single one, though.
Well,
But-
we'll at least mention each
I like
of
the
them.
analogy, pouring through with a cold beer in our hands.
There you go. Hey, look at you.
What'd you bring?
Yeah, so we're going to be drinking a beer called 313 Polish Lager by Grand River Brewery out of Detroit, Michigan. So we're going to find out here. I don't know exactly what the fine people of the Detroit, Michigan area know about fine Polish lagers, but according to their website, it says that it is a light, crisp, and ridiculously refreshing Detroit-inspired lager, an homage to the working-class Polish community of the Motor City.
Nice.
So here we go.
Let's crack it open. I did not know that there is anything. I do not know if there's anything specific to Polish beers. So.
Well, it looks like if you go out there and check out some of the Polish beers that are out there, about 3/4 of them are lighter pilsners or lagers.
Yeah.
So a light, relatively mild, crisp, refreshing beer.
That's what's known for
So
Polish
it's
beer.
got a nice
it looks like
color,
beer to me,
a little
right?
bit cloudy,
It's like a pale yellow.
yeah.
Smells good.
It almost seems like the can, it should just have in like 4 letters, BEER,
Pure beer, yeah.
right? It's just beer.
I'll tell you what, I like the can art too, though. It's got a little eagle with a crown on it, red and white. I'm starting to pay more attention to the art on the cans.
It is tasty.
Is it?
It's cold, crisp, refreshing. Good beer for the summer.
Oh yeah, a lot of these. You can drink a lot of these.
Yeah.
It's just beer, though. In my opinion, right? It's just good beer.
Yeah, just good beer. Yep. It tastes kind of like the Mexican lagers that you enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
Right?
really good.
Kind of like you could probably put a
lime or something in it.
Pacifico or Corona, label on this can, and you probably wouldn't be able to tell the
No, I
difference.
I'm
Right?
a Mexican beer connoisseur. I would
Okay.
know.
Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to
Other
offend
people
you.
might not know, though.
I didn't want to offend you there.
No, it's all right. So on Beer Advocate, this beer has a score of 87, which I think is very good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's only 4.6% alcohol. That is right in your wheelhouse, Ken.
Yep.
Ken doesn't like the stronger beers. And it's a 15 IBU. So,
Relatively low.
yeah, very low.
Not too bitter. Yep. Yeah, a couple other. I saw one. I mean, overall, really pretty good ratings. I mean, this is like, to me, I'm not sure how you, if you're a beer drinker, I'm not sure how you have a lot of negative words about this, right? It's just a good, solid lager.
So it's funny to me, though, right? If, like you were saying earlier, if you put this in a Miller Lite can and you put this on Beer Advocate, it's going to get 2 ratings.
Oh, yeah. Torches.
Exactly.
would come
But
out.
because this is a craft beer, I suppose, it tastes just like the other beers. The ratings are double what the other beers are.
It is good. Yeah, one of them says one of the ratings, the comments was very crisp and refreshing with some hop. Top tier Euro pale for sure. So some high praise. So congratulations, Grand River Brewery in Detroit. Well done.
Yeah, very well done. It's a really good summer beer. Also, if you want to read a very interesting and funny, articulate review, go on Beer Advocate and check out Bush Beer from Ohio. He gave a pretty funny review.
Pretty colorful, analysis there.
Yeah.
That's good, yeah.
A little bit different.
So, we want to keep this show clean.
Yeah, we're not saying
that. So we can't repeat that here. But and I like I said, after it starts to become difficult to find something a little bit different. The category which makes this different is it's our first Polish beer.
Yeah.
So and then go and celebrate a little bit of my own heritage.
Yeah. You've never had it before?
No. I've had I think it's pronounced Tyski.
Tyski, yeah. Is
a Polish beer that is available here in the U.S. That I've had before, and again, very kind of similar to this. Mm-hmm. I would say this has a little bit better flavor to it.
Yeah. Just
a little bit better. Yeah. But both enjoyable beers.
It's really good for beer. I could see you liking this a lot. I wonder if when it warms up, if you're going to get some different flavor notes. Yeah. My palate is terrible, right? Like to me, it's good beer, it's bad beer. All these other people are horse blanket, citrusy, and like, come on.
Yeah, it's just got to be well balanced, smooth, crisp and refreshing, and quench your thirst for me. Yeah. But here's an interesting story. So speaking, last little note on the Polish lagers, we had here at Solution Systems a couple of years ago, we had a craft brew event. So everyone was invited to bring in any beer that they wanted. And so after hours, we had kind of like a big event, and we had small little cups so that everyone could taste all these different beers. The Tyski Polish Lager was the most popular beer of all of them. So it was the first one to run out, and whereas some of the other ones, there was a lot left.
Flavored.
Pumpkin spice flavored whatever. But yeah, so very, very drinkable, light and refreshing. So I'm going to definitely probably enjoy a couple of these as we talk about 2022 Wave 2 today.
Absolutely. So, all right, but next up, we're going to talk about some Business Central news that is relevant to everybody. So stick around.
All right, hey everybody, welcome to the Shot of Business Central segment. So let's kick it off with the big news for today is that 2022 Wave 2 release documentation is available online. So go ahead and check that out. It's on docs.microsoft.com. I think just do a search for Business Central 2022 Wave 2, and you should come across that page. Just a couple key dates. July 12th is when that release document became available. You can either look at it online or you can download a PDF. If you do download the PDF, just make a note that you really only need to look at, for Business Central, pages 202 to 235. So it's about 34 pages or so.
Maybe a little bit smaller than in the past, I think.
Yeah, a little bit shorter. A few fewer features. August or September will be the early release review, where you can actually go in and create a sandbox with this new environment. I would check around Labor Day, early September.
Generally.
And then October 1st is the official release date. If history is any indicator, most existing Business Central updates will probably be moved to the 2022 Wave 2 mid to late October.
Yeah.
Right.
But there's always some features that linger between October and March.
Every
now and then.
Yep. And in the release document, it does note the general availability on there. I found just a couple that were October.
Oh.
I'm sorry, not October. Most were
Most features
October.
in October.
There was only one in November, I think, that I came across.
Microsoft's getting fast with it now.
Yep.
So no, it seems like every release they get quicker and quicker.
But these are all subject to change, mind you. Right?
Yeah.
So we're going to do a deep dive in the next segment and go through all the features. But just wanted to highlight some of those key dates that were upcoming for that release.
All right.
What do you got?
So not too much otherwise on the forefront of news. The only thing that I really have is that minor update 20.3 was released, and it came with like three really, not really great features, but three features that people should pay attention to. The first one is improved settings for managing updates. There's a new default update window, and updates aren't going to start before 8 p.m. your time, and they won't run after 6 a.m. your time in that new default window. Secondly, with the updates, you can now set the updates to a specific time zone. I'm not sure in the past what time zone they're in. I always assumed it was just local to you. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe it's local to Microsoft headquarters.
Maybe wherever that tenant was, whatever time zone that tenant was deployed in.
Yeah.
Or what region you were in.
Yeah, so I
sure.
do not know. Let's see what else they got. They have a new app source cop allowing you to run validation to determine any code hit by obsoleted objects for a given future version. No idea.
Yeah, so what this basically means is Microsoft there may be features that exist in Business Central, and those have become obsolete for whatever reason. And so what Microsoft will do is there's actually like a variable now on those where they actually mark it as like set for obsolete, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And so what you can do now is this app source cop, pretty cool name, I like it. That will actually, it will search through your environment and notify you if there's any extensions or apps that you have installed that might have an upcoming obsolescence within the next 12 months or whatever, so that you can proactively be aware of it. So just in case maybe you're using it or you have custom like extensions or code in there, or an app is using it or something, you can proactively plan to re-engineer your solution or resolve that so you don't end up with an issue.
That's pretty nice. And then finally, they're creating a new single tile to go to Business Central. So customers who use the app launcher to access BC are eventually going to see a single Business Central tile that you can use to access both your production and your sandbox environments.
Okay.
Not sure why, but
I have one more new feature that came out with 20.3, which is new functionality to create inventory picks or warehouse picks from a job. There's some functionality there. I would advise you to say, I would just say, if you're using jobs and you potentially are using either inventory picks or warehouse picks, go check out the release notes and look. There's a specific page that talks about support for inventory picks and warehouse picks for jobs, and there are some settings that you have to have in place for this to work. Okay. So we don't need to get into that right now, but it is a kind of a pretty unique scenario maybe where someone has jobs and they're doing inventory picks or warehouse picks for it.
Does it sound like a feature maybe that was suggested on the PC features?
Yeah. It means that you can consume, create, like if you have a job out there and you need to go, you have some items that need to get consumed into the job, you can actually generate a pick to the warehouse to go get those items so that they can be consumed. It's kind of a gap in functionality there previously, so this just gives it better support throughout the inventory process.
Very, very nice. I got nothing else left for 20.3. You got anything more? I don't think I saw anything else with.
Yeah, 20.3, I mean, just kind of other highlights. There's 14 platform fixes, 31 application hot fixes. I noticed if you happen to be running the Czech localized version, there were like 20 fixes or updates related to that specific version. Also, in the localization section, I noticed that many different localizations had the same one in there.
Oh, really?
And it was that the physical inventory count is not searchable in the report in the whatever version, US version, other versions. So if you're doing anything with physical inventory count, you couldn't find that report. It was that it wasn't available in the search.
Should be now, though.
Yep. So, and one other thing, just on those platform fixes, one of the things that it's maybe too late now, but during July, maybe even late June, users started reporting issues on pages where the little Boolean toggle buttons were misaligned on the pages. It actually had to do with a change that was implemented in Chromium-based browsers. So Microsoft Edge and Chrome were both impacted. And what you may have noticed, it was like the little toggle buttons.
They're just not aligned the way they should.
Yeah, we're like way off on the pages, and
there was no real quick fix for it too, right? Right.
There was. So now 20.3 does. That's one of the application hot fixes. Is a fix to address that. But the other things you could have done is switch to Firefox. That would have resolved it. Or if you're still seeing that, there's something that you can do within the browser itself. I think upgrade or downgrade it. Maybe it was downgrade it to the previous version to resolve that until you can get 20.3 applied.
People still use Firefox?
I guess I wasn't aware, but it's still out there. It's not one of it's ironic that Microsoft promotes Chrome and Edge as the suggested browsers. But then with this issue, those were the ones that didn't work, and Firefox actually worked just fine. So who knows?
Who knows?
But that has been resolved. That was something that caused a lot of people
only specific
users issues. So
awesome.
Yep.
All right.
I got just one other last note. If you are looking for a user conference to attend this fall, maybe you want to get out of the office or get out of your house, wherever you're working, and go meet with other Business Central users and experts and app developers. There's actually two conferences coming up in the fall. You've got Dynamics Con, which is September 14th through the 16th in San Antonio, and the Community Summit event, which is October 10th through the 13th in Orlando, Florida.
And at Dynamics Con, you're going to be speaking. What are you going to be speaking on?
Yeah, we're going to be. I'm going to be hosting a session with Ben Baxter, who is a consultant for Business Central, and we're going to be talking about jobs and manufacturing.
You going to slip in a little bit of a brewery or something in there, maybe?
We might see. I might have to use the brewery as an example, right, of what you might accomplish through jobs versus what would be better accomplished through manufacturing. So we're going to just talk about similarities, differences, and the right application for each of those solutions.
Sounds like a good session.
So.
Yep. Okay then. So next up, we're gonna deep dive through all the new. Would you say there were 33 features?
33.
33 features coming up in the 2022 Business Central release Wave 2.
All right, everybody. Welcome. This is the best segment of the day here. 2022 Wave 2 will be upon us soon.
Yeah.
Now is the time to start getting ready. So we are going to do a little deep dive here on these features. We got 33 to get through here. We're going to see how long this takes us to get through. Last time it took us quite a while.
Yeah, and we cut it. We had to actually cut some out just to.
I think we're going to do better this time. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to walk through. Microsoft kind of divides all the new features in each new major release into these following 8 categories. You've got the service, administration, application, better with Microsoft 365, country and regional, onboarding, development tools, and Power Platform. So we're going to be going through. We're going to go through category by category, and we're going to just describe. Here's the title of the feature, and do our best to give you what we think of our thoughts about them.
Yep.
And I'm going to hand over play-by-play duties to Michael.
All right.
To kind of lead us through, starting with the application.
We're going to start with application. I'll tell you the feature, and then I'll read the quick little short quip from Microsoft saying what the business value is, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. So, all right. So first up, we've got better bank reconciliation for checks. The value that this brings is bank reconciliation is a key task in every company, and performing the task efficiently is important to every finance department. Better matching rules improve the speed with which bank reconciliation is done. So I see speed, bank reconciliation. To me, I'm obviously not in the accounting department or anything like that, but I think quicker, better. How can you go wrong?
Yeah, I mean, when I think about, again, it's applicable for most companies because they're probably managing a bank account in Business Central, and it's something that it's just painful. As an accounting student myself back in the day, bank recs are not fun.
Yeah.
Just generally speaking. So this continues the string of continuous version releases where Microsoft continues to improve the bank reconciliation process.
I mean, they know, right? They do it.
It has. This is one of those painful. It's like a trip to the dentist for an accountant every month, right? Like I got to do the bank rec. Yeah. So anything that they can do to continue to make this as painless as possible will make users happier and happier.
Nice.
So I like
it. All
that.
right. Next up, extended text functionality for VAT clauses. I say VAT, some people say VAT. The value it brings is users can meet local requirements for long text on VAT clauses. My thoughts, how was this handled before? Was it through a customization? I don't know.
Yeah, it must have been. Or you just had to have very short text descriptions, right? Yeah. So this maybe gives you a lot more room to add more color.
Pretty simple.
Yep.
All right. Next, we got financial reporting replaces account schedules. Ken might like this one. Who knows? The value it brings is in order to make it easier for new users to get started with Business Central, they're going to rename the account schedules capability financial reporting. They've also separated the definition of a financial report from that of the definition of rows and columns so that it's clear that a financial report is a combination of row and column definitions plus additional parameters. So they're just making it simpler for newer users to find things and
mostly,
I guess.
Yeah, mostly terminology changes, right? And this is one of my favorite changes actually, because as someone who I love account schedules, they're so powerful and useful for analyzing financial data, but I feel like people. They get the deer in the headlights look, eyes glaze over when you start talking about, quote, account schedules and column layouts, right? So I think just by relabeling it to financial reporting you have row definitions and column definitions, I think it makes just intuitively more sense for people.
Doesn't scare people away.
Yeah, and so if it means more users will adopt it and use them, then I'm all in.
Nice.
So, I like it.
Next up, new VAT date field on documents and entries. The value is users can report VAT statements and returns based on the new VAT date instead of the posting date to meet requirements by certain countries. Again,
blah, blah, blah.
Before? Yeah, exactly. Was it a customization?
Yeah, so full disclosure, right? So we're here in the United States. We don't do VAT.
Yeah.
So I know that the majority of the world actually does do VAT, and this is probably much more meaningful for others. I'm just not sure. Yeah. Maybe this is a really nice feature that people are like, oh, yes, finally. I just don't know. So I can't.
So if you're listening to the podcast, don't hate us.
Yeah,
we don't deal with it.
We're just being honest. We do our best, but can't know everything.
It's very true. All right, we've got reverse payment reconciliation journal entries. So the value with this release wave, you can use different number of series in the payment reconciliation journals. You can also reverse any posting done through the journal. To me, I hear reverse posting, and kind of scares me, but I'm not in that field, so
Yep.
I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing.
Well, I think definitely being able to reverse entries that you may have posted incorrectly is a great feature, right? So you don't want a system that is unforgiving. Okay. So giving the users an opportunity to kind of roll back or undo something that they did, that's great. In assigning a number series so that you can better track those entries to more easily identify them is great. But here's my question on this feature: is that the feature details starts. It says, if you use the payment reconciliation journal page to register and apply customer payments, blah 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 blah. I don't really know how many Business Central users are currently using the payment reconciliation journal to register and apply customer payments. It may be, I think this is a relatively new feature, the payment reconciliation journal that came out maybe a few releases ago. Mm-hmm. So I think users are still adopting that more.
Gotcha.
So it may currently not relate to more users, but maybe with these new features that they're adding in, it's going to become more useful for people.
Nice. All right, next up, use multiple remit-to addresses for vendors. The value is having multiple remit-to addresses for each vendor adds flexibility when paying invoices.
Yep.
Just makes it simpler. Once again, you just pay.
Yeah, this is kind of a common feature that a lot of other ERP systems have, which is that you set up a vendor, and then for that vendor you can set up multiple remit-to addresses. Like, who do you want to pay? Right, so it's a different kind of way to structure vendors than how Business Central historically has done it. Mm-hmm. And again, this is one of those changes that I think it's getting Business Central more in line with other legacy type systems, so that it's more intuitive for users.
Gotcha. All right.
Those are the applications.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So now we're going to move into country and regional. I'm not probably going to spend too much time talking about it.
This should be quick.
Yeah. So first up, we got configurable and redesign to Intrastat solution. Users can use one common W1 Intrastat feature for all countries and regions with configurable reporting. Anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, again, just acknowledging our lack of Intrastat knowledge. Right. It says the new Intrastat solution is in the form of a document with different statuses that provide the history of periods already reported. Works for both purchase and sales documents, includes items and fixed assets. Many existing functionalities are also improved, and reporting is configurable without hard coding file exports. Sounds good if you're using Intrastat.
Yeah, sounds like you're cutting down on some coding. Okay, moving on. Service declarations, FO1 DGS for Belgium and Intrastat for Italy and France. When required by local authority, users are able to report when they export services from one EU country to other EU countries. I did not know that they're required to.
Yeah, you don't live in an EU country.
That's true, yeah.
I guess. What's a little curious to me is I just don't understand. These seem to me that they would be more suitable for handling within the localizations, right? The localized versions, like for Belgium, Italy, and France.
One of the minor updates.
There must be a reason that Microsoft felt like this should just be put into the worldwide, release.
Maybe they finish it and just want to get it out there as fast as possible.
But yeah, definitely this is relative if you're in Belgium, in France, or in Italy.
Yeah, it says the feature is going to be available as an extension. It can be used in all countries. Reporting is configurable, so it won't have to be a hard-coded format for export. Nice. Moving on to one of my favorite sections now, development.
Oh, yeah, right. You're a developer.
Yeah, absolutely.
by your nature. Right.
So yeah, I'm going to breeze through this and we'll see what you got. First up, we got promoted action groups and action references. So the value is, up until now, it has been possible to promote actions by setting a property in the action that pointed to a predefined promoted action categories. This was not flexible, and the personalization story wasn't optimal. So in this release, Microsoft is adding a new promoted action model to address these shortcomings while retaining the old model for compatibility. I'm not going to lie, didn't even understand what I just read there.
Yeah, so what this gives is users greater ability to control their actions up on the ribbon. So, meaning they can now control better where action buttons or options are set up on their ribbon. Whereas in the old Windows client, you had a lot of these flexibilities. You could create your own group and then put a bunch of items into that group for yourself. And now this is something that you could do. You could do it through an extension in Business Central.
Right.
Now it's something that admins, and users can
code
do.
to action to convert. Yeah. That sounds pretty good.
Yep.
Hey, it all starts with development, so I have nothing but love for development developers.
Yep. Actually, I think it was limited. Even a developer, from an extension standpoint, the ability to create groups and specify where you want to place certain menu options up on the ribbon was kind of limited. So this adds more flexibility to that.
Nice. All right, moving along. Next up is use by ref XML port parameters and OData. The value is developers of Business Central web service endpoints can use by ref and XML port parameters and OData unbound actions. Once again,
come on! I thought development was your wheelhouse, Michael.
Furthest I ever go was back in the day. You had to connect OData with Power BI and Business Central.
Man,
that's as far as I go with that.
I'm starting to think maybe you were kidding about development being your favorite section.
Maybe it's the ear to ear smile.
So what this basically this is kind of I'm going to keep it at a high level. But what this does is this provides more flexibility with the types of integrations that can be supported with sending and receiving data back and forth, where an XML port can be used as part of a data feed. So I don't know if we need to get into more there, but just suffice it to say that from an integration or import and export process, there's more flexibility that this offers.
All right. Next, we've got access database row version from AOL code. The value is developers and administrators can get insights into the version of database rows. They can either add this to indexes or use it to query most recent changes to the database. Sounds pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the database itself, right? Each record is referred to as a row, and in the database there's what are called row versions, right? A tracking number called row version, where the system can keep track of different versions of the same row.
Yeah.
So from a coding perspective, you can now add row version. This row version field to indexes or use it to query on different things within the code. Again, for
high level,
what application that suits, I'm not sure.
The next one I think everybody's gonna like, well, every developer anyway, right?
Yep.
Is we've got write faster upgrade code. So using a new language construct, developers can write faster upgrade code when they want to move a field with data from one table to another.
Yep.
So I don't know how, but
yeah. So just more development improvements to improve the process of upgrading data.
Nice.
And and this is relative because a lot of upgrades are going on now.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. All right. Next section we're going to deal with is governance and administration. And we've got the first one, which is get more, better communications as admin. so admins can get more proactive communications in this release wave. Microsoft will send info about more types of changes and issues that affect their environments.
Yeah, so this is I think kind of a big change. So under the details, it says recently we moved to the Microsoft 365 Message Center and Service Health Dashboard as the primary channels for communicating with admins. And here's where this is what I underlined. This move means that we retired the notification recipient feature from the Business Central Admin Center. That perked me up a little bit. Like, wait a minute.
Why would they?
Because every one of our customers uses that, the notification recipients, to get information on when an update is coming out, whether the environment was updated or not, or when it was updated. So we're going to have to see what happens here and how this gets deployed. But it looks like maybe there's this new move to this message center. Is going to change that.
Yeah, and maybe it'll be better. I don't know, but my initial thoughts are, can Microsoft just stop changing things for the need just to change things for some reason?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, why make the move? But.
Well, it says that they're adding more types of communication so that admins can be proactive in more scenarios. So
couldn't do it on where it was located?
Right. Couldn't you just have enhanced that? Maybe not. Maybe from a technical perspective that became difficult or something. So we're just going to have to wait to see. What I can tell you is that right now, at least as of like yesterday, the end of July,
still works.
The notification recipients still works.
Yeah. All right. Next, we got get more visibility into outages. So it's going to be easier for business users and administrators to learn about any outages that have been declared and that affect their environments if they're experiencing issues. Good to know.
Yeah.
But not life-changing. But
more proactive information about outages that affect a Business Central environment. Of course, sounds great.
User error, maybe corrected, who knows.
Yep.
All right. Next, we got restore deleted environments. So, environments are occasionally deleted by mistake. It's kind of self-explanatory. I don't think I really need the whole value. What it is if you delete something by mistake, you now are going to have the option to restore your deleted environment.
Yeah, or if a trial expires, you have up to 7 days to now, even after the expiration date, kind of go back and restore those.
I think anytime you delete something or whatnot, it should always have that fail-safe to where you can have the option to restore it for a period of time afterwards.
Yeah,
especially when you're dealing with environments.
Yeah, and my note on this one is that this is a nice feature. Of course, you do again to provide, make it less unforgiving, right? So to be able to recover from mistakes easier is always great. I just don't know how much this really relates to the average Business Central user. Like this as far as we've been doing this for several years and supporting many Business Central customers, we have not once gotten to the point where we lost a Business Central environment because of an oversight or mistake and needed it back.
Right, it's something that most likely will never be used, but just in case you ever need to use it, it's there.
Yep.
Excuse me. All right. So next up, we've got use service-to-service authentication with admin API. The value for this is service-to-service authentication for the Tenant Administration Center. API will make it easier to manage environments in multiple Azure Active Directory tenants without having to manually re-authenticate for each Azure AD. So to me, it sounds like it's just easier to manage your environments because you're not going to have to log into different things.
Well, service to service means they're referring to like automated processes.
Okay.
So you've got two automated processes you need to authenticate together, and what this is saying is that they're allowing those so that you don't have to re-authenticate through each Azure Active Directory tenant.
Okay.
And to me, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I think this is a huge improvement because with multi-factor authentication, service-to-service communications where a file was getting read or transacted between multiple tenants became very, very difficult or impossible because how do you re-authenticate that connection to another tenant that requires multi-factor authentication when it's an automated process that runs every 5 minutes or 5 times a day or however often it runs, right? So I think this is actually a really nice improvement that's going to eliminate that problem. Nice. Not sure, but
it's got the possibility.
Yeah.
All right, next up, we're diving into the Microsoft Power Platform section.
Your favorite section?
Yeah, usually, if I'm big Teams and Business Central, whatever, not too much Teams stuff on here, though. A little bit.
Yeah, right.
But, all right, so first up, we've got personalize and design the automate action group in the web client. This is going to give users freedom and flexibility in designing and adjusting their workspace and essential for productivity in the cloud.
Yeah. So on the various Business Central pages, you have the automate buttons, right, that were always visible. Mm-hmm. You couldn't kind of personalize them off, or as a global administrator remove them.
Right.
Now you can. So if you're not using those features, it means that you can remove them and clean up your pages more to provide the users with a simpler, more elegant user interface.
Which is what every business owner wants, I guess.
And I did use air quotes. You can't see that. Yeah. I know listeners can't hear that, but I used air quotes around the more elegant.
All right, next we got Power Apps and Power Automate support for document attachments. The value is being able to access attachments, media, and other data that are linked to business records opens new possibilities with scenarios related to rich data. It's very nice for productivity and everything. You can access more documents in different...
Yeah, so I mean, like one of the things, for example, if you were building a Power App that displayed sales order data, right, you had no access to like attachments or multimedia files.
Yeah.
Now you can build a Power App that provides access to those types of things, files.
All right. Next, rely on personalization to show or hide Power BI parts on lists. This is going to allow users to personalize their workspace in a consistent manner that is going to create a better user experience. So it's just
This is a pretty light change. I mean, what it says is, so like right now, if you go in and you have a Power BI fact box, there's a button on kind of in there that says Show Hide Power BI Reports, and you click on that and that hides them. What they're saying now is that you can use personalization to hide the Power BI reports box. So pretty simple change, yeah.
Now this next one, Ken, you might like, huh? You like dimensions.
This is one of my favorites.
One of your favorites, yeah.
Absolutely.
So the feature is try Power BI apps with dimensions. The value is dimensional analysis is key to getting insights into how the business operates. Now the standard Power BI apps and App Source for Business Central can demonstrate the use of dimensional data. They show both a powerful feature for Business Central as well as reporting capabilities when data is analyzed in Power BI. So they're expanding the powers of Power BI?
Yeah, and I'm going to drink to that. So I'm going to crack another one of these Polish lagers here. But yeah, so getting back to the Power BI. Yeah, what they're doing is they're providing kind of demo apps, one for finance, one for sales, and one for customer relationship management. So they're providing more out of the box kind of templates, if you will, or reports to demonstrate the advantages of using dimensions inside Business Central. So not only some demo data and reports, but also including the use of dimensions to kind of demonstrate how those can be used. So again, anything that can promote the use of dimensions and Power BI and improved reporting and data analytics.
Golden.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for. As a matter of fact, I would actually add in that if Microsoft were to continue to, in every single release, provide more and more standard out-of-the-box Power BI data analytics, that would be one of my dreams come true, right? Why? Like if, there should be a Power BI dashboard that includes all of the most common analytics, things like inventory turnover, day sales outstanding.
Right.
All of these things should just be Power BI analytics that become available for all Business Central users around the world, out of the box, without needing someone to build it or someone to learn how to use it. These should just all be there.
I think they know that. I mean, from when we talked to Mike Morton, the general manager of Business Central at Microsoft, I think he was saying that reporting is one of the things that they really want to focus on to make easier for everybody. So I think that with Power BI and the metrics, the KPIs, I think they know. I think
they do. Of course, right? I mean, the continued focus on Power BI and Business Central says that. The key thing, historically at least, is that Microsoft has been, let's say, concerned with providing tools that enable customers and partners to develop solutions. And what I'm saying is, let's transform that a little bit to just provide those solutions.
The basics.
You have the tools. Yes, people are starting to take the tools for granted, really, right? Of course, we have visualizations of data, right? That's almost, people expect that now.
Nowadays.
So let's take those tools and just out of the box, let's deliver the solution to partners and to customers everywhere, so that without having to do anything, you have all of this awesome analytical
templates set up for specific divisions.
Just full reports. Give me a sales dashboard, a finance dashboard, which is what I'm seeing here. I think they're going, they're at least providing down this road.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, keep it up. Continue with that. Give us an inventory one next time, then a manufacturing one, then a jobs one.
One for each module.
Right? Like, and enhance them and continue to develop them and add more visualizations and data elements to those dashboards.
Yeah. Sounds great, especially for all the things that everybody uses. Right?
Yeah,
right? Things that are, just for your own business, you can have it developed.
If you're manufacturing something, you want to track, how long, what's your actual versus expected costs or runtime, like those types of things. So, sorry, I'll get off my soapbox now.
No, of course not. Next section is onboarding. And first up, we've got the new field descriptions improve clarity. Hear that? Look at that. Nice, cold, and fresh. It's like a commercial of beer. So the value it brings is Microsoft's going to make it easier to get started and unblocked with Dynamics 365 Business Central by providing better tooltip descriptions for sensitive and essential fields. I think it's good for the customer, right? I know when I see these tooltips and all that, I ignore them, but that's just me. But hopefully the customer reads them and whatnot, and they'll actually pay attention to get onboarded easier.
Yeah, according to the notes here, it says, and I see this to be true too, is that users have provided feedback that after they install an app, they're not sure exactly where to go. So I install an app, what do I do next? So what this does is it specifically one of the features that it is, so after an extension or an app is installed, the developer can code a property to launch the setup page for that app, so that once it's finished, here comes this page, and it kind of walks you through now a wizard maybe or a setup page that tells you what you need to do.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah, so that's for the easily accessed setup pages.
Am I on the wrong one?
Because Ken skipped one. Yeah.
Oh, son of a bee.
That's okay.
What?
No worries. I was looking at my notes and I was like, wait, what's going on here?
So cut. All right. So new field descriptions to improve clarity. I see. Okay. So they're making fields easier to understand.
Yeah, and they're improving the tooltips and stuff like that. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, not the most fun. So
Ho-hum.
we're good, yeah.
It was actually such a boring new feature that I just immediately, spontaneously went to the next one.
That's awesome.
No, that's great. So, I mean, so let's go back to yours. So, the new field descriptions to improve clarity. I like that, adding better tooltips or field descriptions on there of what a field is used for or how it's used. I think that there's a lot of room for improvement there that says like, oh, customer posting group. This is primarily used to drive to a GL account, right? Or to categorize customers for reporting. Like, I think there's a lot of room for improvement in there. Or even just changing fields that have existed for a long time, just changing the description of those. Like we talked about earlier, account schedules is now called financial reports.
Yeah.
Great. It's more, people know what that means, right? So,
all right.
Good feature.
Next up, for the people who have drank are on beer number 2, we have easily find apps to connect to the core. And the business value this brings is, it says easily identify the right app that connects your business to external business productivity services in your market space. So I got some thoughts on this one, because this one was kind of interesting to me. This is one of my favorites. So my thoughts are that Microsoft, from my research, is Microsoft is soon going to list app source apps inside of Business Central, and specifically apps that offer great, like, I don't know, it could be things like banking connectivity, so you can pull your bank feeds and perform payments directly from Business Central. So, but these apps are not going to be selected or endorsed by Microsoft, but they're going to be shown by in product if the app passes a number of functional and business criteria. Okay. So you can't, manipulate the system to kind of get your app inside Business Central to show up for whatever it is. It's also going to make it easier for users to discover relevant apps that connect them to their whatever it is you need. So I don't know, it's a pretty good idea, I guess. Let's see what we got next, as I lost my space now.
Are you? Well, yeah, and when you install an app, let's go back to to what I said. It will help more easily walk the user through. So like the instructions before was you go out to App Source, you install a new app, and it says, oh, check the deployment status page to see the status of your app installation. And so you can go to that page and then you see, oh, the app installation completed successfully. But from that point, it wasn't always clear what you do next. So now a developer can actually set a setup page to launch. Mm-hmm. When you install an app, they can say, oh, launch the setup page from there. So it's just a property that it allows you to set. So are we on now easily?
You skipped one again, buddy.
No, I think we're in the wrong order. I think we're just in the wrong order.
Is it?
We're not on the same. We're literally not on the same page.
Gotcha.
So why don't you tell us what the next one is?
All right. So next up, we're gonna do. So we're done with that section now. You just talked about the easily install and set up new apps. I was chatting about easily find apps to connect to the core.
Well, and then there was also easily access setup pages for new apps,
which was the first one you originally skipped, or we were on the wrong page.
Yeah.
So I think we've covered all these ones in this section.
At one point or another.
Yeah, at one point or another. All right. So next we got productive with Microsoft 365. And the first one is configure OneDrive integration. You got that, or you want off?
Yep.
You're good?
That's where we are at. Yep.
All right. So the business value for this is admins are in control. With 2022 Release Wave 2, organizations can easily manage which OneDrive-related features are switched on for Business Central so that people can collaborate on business documents and work with other files in the browser.
So to me, this is another one of those things that I'm not sure about because I just don't know how many users are out there that are using OneDrive integration actively, right? So this, again, and if these features make it easier to use this and more adoptable for users, that's great.
I think in the future more and more will use it, right? Because it comes with Microsoft 365, aka Office 365, which is almost essential if you want to use Business Central online. So,
yeah, what's a little bit interesting here is the last little bullet point on the release notes here says that the setup guide detects if the environment had been set up to use the legacy OneDrive or SharePoint integration, and it helps you switch to the newer OneDrive integration. As part of this change, we are announcing deprecation of the legacy SharePoint connection setup page and SharePoint integration capabilities. So that's kind of news, right? That if you're using a SharePoint integration, that they're kind of deprecating or removing that functionality in place of this new OneDrive functionality. So maybe it's just something that we're going to all be learning a lot more about over the upcoming months.
Yeah. All right. We've got delegated admins can edit in Excel. One of my favorites. I don't know if it's one of your favorites.
Also, I've got double favorite on
Double favorite, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, well, to me, it's a welcome new feature. I know I've worked with some of our project managers in the past to see if we can find a way to do this or whatnot, just to make it easier for them to transfer bulk data, and there really was no way. So now, all you consultants and project managers, this is going to be a big one.
Yeah, so the key here, just to kind of clarify what the heck we're talking about, is if you are a Business Central consultant working for an IT company or a Business Central Microsoft partner, you could not, and you connected to a Business Central customer environment, you could not use or you still cannot use today, the edit in Excel function.
Right.
Because of the authentication, user authentication, everything. So they are now making the edit in Excel feature available for outside consultants and partners to use, so that it provides more. It's going to provide a better level of support for end users, knowing that their partner can help them with certain things. Maybe during a data migration, it's much quicker and easier to just do edit in Excel, update a column of data for all your records, and hit publish, than have to go create a configuration package, export the data from Excel, import it back in. So this is ultimately going to save customers money if they're having their partners help them, because their partners can now do things more efficiently.
That's a biggie. All right, on to the reporting section. So first one I see is use new Excel report data sets. Value is with dedicated Excel report data sets, it's easier to create Excel layouts for selected data, I would imagine.
Yeah, so they just created some data sets for general ledger data, which includes budgets and global dimensions, and then also customer ledger entries and vendor ledger entries. So what I think this is going to be useful for is companies that may have some advanced Excel reports and layouts that are based on ledger entries, GL, customer, or vendor. And what you could do is you can take this report data set, run it in Business Central, export that to Excel to a workbook, where you then could have other worksheets that use that data that's sitting in that one worksheet.
Nice.
So
it could be a biggie for some people.
I think so. It's a kind of, well, again, this I have a question mark here because that's like,
just don't know
I want to see it in action.
Right.
I want to see, what does this look like? What does the output look like? How can I use this?
Gotcha.
So, TBD.
To be determined. Next up, we've got run send reports from the request page. So the value is from the request page. A user can run a report and send it directly to the report inbox. This allows the user to keep working and then pick up the report from the report inbox later when it has finished.
I have a question mark here.
Uh-oh.
Because I understand that. So let's say you're a large organization and you want to run an inventory valuation report.
Right.
If you do a print or a preview, that could take 15 minutes to run, right? So instead of sitting there waiting for the report to run, you want to just kick it off to your inbox and then immediately return you back so you can keep working while that report runs in the background.
Yeah.
The question mark I have is, they're going to add this new send to inbox function. I think this is just making the existing schedule option more intuitive.
What do you mean?
So today, go into Business Central, run any report. You have an option to send it to a PDF, Word, Excel, or schedule it. If you schedule it, you can pick
the time
T for today, which is today's date, hit OK. It immediately schedules it for right now because 12 a.m. has passed. And then when it's done, it shows up in your reports inbox.
Gotcha.
That's an existing feature that's there today. This, I think, makes it more in your face. Hey, I want to send this to my report inbox, right? Unless they're saying it's going to send it to your email inbox. But no, it says it to the report inbox. So, yeah, to me, I think this feature exists right now under the schedule option. Mm-hmm. They're just making it a little bit more intuitive.
Gotcha. All right, next up is choose the report layout on request page. The value is users can choose which report layout to use on the request page. This is going to make it easier to use different report layouts for different purposes, especially for Excel layouts.
Again, I have this one as a question mark. Could be huge, right? Yeah. I need to see this. Well, because if I, as an end user, can take a report and I can build a custom Excel layout that says I want this column, then I want this field, then I want this field, and so on. And I can create 5 different versions of that for 5 different uses. One report, meaning one Business Central report, that I now have 5 different Excel layouts for different purposes. That can be huge. Think about it. I could have, so for example, I have one report that spits out my item ledger entries. Mm-hmm. But I've got 5 different outputs in Excel. One is for the purchasing team, one's for the production team, one's for the sales team, and one's for planning or whatever. So, inventory managers, right? And I can give them each, these are the records you need to see, and in the format you need to see it for your purpose. I don't have to create 5 reports in Business Central. Yeah. I create one report, 5 different Excel layouts. Need to see it. Need to see it in action, and if that is indeed the functionality, but that could be a huge benefit from that perspective.
So it sounds like you've got a question mark, though, for the entire reporting section.
I think you are correct. Yes.
All right. Next, we're jumping into the service and platform section, and first up, we've got get Power BI reports and telemetry with one click. The value is tenant admins can get Power BI reports and telemetry with one-click installation. These reports will give them insights into the performance, stability, and usage of Business Central. So just making it easier to get your telemetry reports?
No.
No?
It gives you telemetry reports. Where do you go to get your telemetry reports today, Michael?
The Admin Center, right? Can't you look at telemetry in the Business Central?
Oh, yeah. What can you see in there?
I haven't done it. I don't know.
Yeah, no. This provides telemetry reports against your Business Central environment, built in Power BI, that you now will have available to actually monitor and analyze your telemetry data.
Okay. So it's pulling it from BC. Gotcha.
Now, how useful is that going to be for day-to-day users? I'm not sure. However, if you are running BC Online and maybe you have a performance problem or you're having a recurring issue, Microsoft is now providing a Power BI app that will show you this information in Power BI.
Yeah, I think...
I'm assuming, again, right? Need to kind of see it, but...
The app side, I think... I don't know, maybe it's not that. There's some new Power BI app that's available for download on Business Central, I saw. I can't remember what it is. Maybe it's System.
I don't know. I just know that, Microsoft does make telemetry data available, but as far as I know, they're not actively providing actual reports, visualizations, and reporting data on it.
Gotcha.
So that's my assumption about what this is. So I want to get some telemetry Power BI reports with one click.
All right, moving on into the user experiences section. First up, we got legacy list views are hidden. The April 2019 release of Business Central introduced a new way to implement filtered list views that makes them available across form factors and empowers business users to easily create, modify, hide, show, reorder, and remove views from the web client. Customers benefit from all these capabilities when using views created using this newer model. So, legacy views are no longer going to be supported.
Yeah, this really only relates if you've been using Nav or Business Central from a long time and you have some of these legacy views created out there. It says starting with 2023 release wave 2. So like next fall of 2023. It says which is currently targeted for Q3 of 2023. Legacy views will no longer be supported and will not be displayed on list pages. So kind of people have like over a year to analyze if they are using any of these, and you can kind of eliminate them over the next year.
All right, next up might be a little interesting. I guess for me, I could put a question mark next to this one too, where it's experience new UI design elements. The value is lowering the learning curve through familiarity in visual design. Is Business Central going to be getting a facelift?
I certainly hope not. It says the release plan will be updated with a list of specific changes closer to the launch of Release Wave 2. So we don't really have much to go on.
Yeah.
I think they're just going to be adding in some new...
maybe trying to declutter some things that are come out of the box, whatever, who knows. All right, and for the finale, the last, but obviously not the least appreciated feature is switch companies across environments. The value is Business Central is ready to adapt to the needs of complex SMB organizations by organizing multiple companies across environments. While most employees are bound to a single company, some users need to view, edit, and compare data across companies. The 2022 Release Wave 2 makes it easier to get an overview of the companies and environments you have access to and need to rapidly switch to. So, if you switch through a lot of companies back and forth, this is going to be pretty big for you. Yeah,
so if you're a Business Central user and you only work in one company, this is completely not applicable at all. If you do have multiple companies that you have to work in, there's visual cues in the app bar so that you can more easily see which one you're working in. A little bit easier to switch companies. There's a company switcher that they're going to have. And you can also kind of search for other companies to make it easier to kind of switch or toggle between the different companies. Yeah. So I don't know that it's significantly difficult to change today, your companies, but again.
Yeah, but if somebody has to do it every 5 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
But what's the likelihood somebody has to do that?
Right. Yep. So.
And that about does it for all of them, right? Do we miss any?
I don't think so. I think we hit it all. So I kind of broke down my categories. So it's 33. I've got 13 ones that I'm kind of excited about and interested to learn more about. I've got another 13 that I've got questions about, or either because we don't have enough information yet, or I actually need to see it. Like, what does this look like? And then there's like 7 that, at least for I think most Business Central users, are pretty minor or insignificant things that probably don't relate to their daily use. Yeah. Right.
I wanted to see more updates with Teams. I also wanted to see some updates with the company hub. I think they introduced that a year or two ago and hasn't really taken off or anything like that.
No, it has not.
And one thing I don't know if you want to mention, I know you've got some numbers on the features that are available for public preview.
Yes.
In September.
Yep.
Which I thought this was kind of interesting.
Yeah. So so as we've kind of discussed previously, the release is coming out in October, and if you look at the document, it actually says when general availability is going to be. General availability for most of these 33 features we talked about is October. There is, I think, one in November, but everything else is October. There's also a column, and it says exactly when each feature is going to be available for public preview, meaning when can I go in and create a sandbox in my environment and see some of these new features.
Before GA.
So for 15 of these, the public preview is October, which is also
the release date.
When the release date's going to be. And for 6 of the 33, there is no public preview date indicated.
Wow.
So if we do some simple math, there's 12 that will be available for public preview in September.
So 12 out of the 33 features are only going to be available for public preview in September.
Yeah. So just be aware if you're going in and you're going to take the time to create a sandbox to check out the new features in September. Just be aware of which of those features, check out which of those features are actually going to be included in there or not. And this, my suggestion is, I have a PDF version of this, but my suggestion is to use the website because I know that gets updated regularly by Microsoft.
Yeah, instead of just printing out the PDF or whatever, or reading the PDF. All right, so 33 features. I don't think it's as much as in years past.
No, but it's a good number of features, and I think to be honest with you, over the past couple of years, we've had a few of these releases where it's been like overload in terms of the new features and functionality, where it's difficult to keep up with some of them actually.
And I've also noticed over the past year or two, some of the minor updates are including new feature changes or new features included within the minor updates. So it's good. I like it. Well, I think it's time to rate some beer.
Yeah, let's wrap this up.
Want me to go first? You want to go first?
Yeah, I will go first. I'm going to go
85.
90. I have to go. I told you I have to revamp my list here, but I'm going to go based on my historical ratings. I'm going to go 91.5.
91.5. Wow. Probably gets you. You've probably done maybe 5 or 6 in the 90s tops.
I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This would be 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not bad. I'm going to give it a solid 82. Solid 82. To me, it tastes just like a regular beer. A little bit better than your Miller Lights, Bud Lights, right? There's nothing crazy about it. It's just a good, crisp, clean, refreshing beer, right? So it's not going to fall within my wheelhouse of beers. Well, sort of. It doesn't have the Mexican taste to it that I like with a Modelo or Corona.
I mean, compared to a Oktoberfest, it does.
Yeah.
Which you gave 87.
Which I gave 87.
Just saying.
You cheat though. Yeah, I'm still gonna go a solid 82. No, it's good. It's really good. It's just beer to me, right? It's nothing. It's just a good beer.
Yeah, that's the point of it, isn't it?
When I think craft beer, I don't think this is a craft. In my head, it's not a craft beer, right? I know that it meets the requirements and whatnot, but
Mr. Fancy Pants over here.
Yeah, if it had an umbrella in it, I'd give it 85.
How about if I served it with a plate of Polish sausage and pierogies?
Oh, pierogies! Now we're talking. Yeah, now we're talking.
Now maybe an 86.
Oh, that's the flavor compared. It'll go great together. Oh,
wash those buttery deliciousness down.
I love me some pierogies. Not something I get to eat too often, but yeah, they're good. So.
All right.
That wraps it up for us. Episode 40 in the books. Stick around for next month. We'll see what kind of new features and whatnot that Microsoft is going to release. Maybe they'll add, maybe it's a lot, maybe it's a little. Who knows? We'll see.
Bye.
As we end today's podcast, we want to give a big thank you to everyone who listens, shares this podcast, and leaves us reviews. You've taken a good amount of your time out of your day, and we truly appreciate it. Thanks again. And don't be afraid to email us at marketing@solsyst.com with your tips for the podcast, or maybe you'd even like to be a guest during an episode.